KW.
Good
Good morning.
morning.
Um, so excited to be back with Monday Motivation and my first guest for 2025. We
Woohoo!
didn't save the best for last. We had the best first,
You're silly.
and we had a great kind of a mini retreat with you and Jen Sartain and myself, and we talked about books and growth. And I love that the three of us are going through a journey of three books for the first quarter.
That's right. And Sally, you've been on vacation,
I
so
have
something I
been.
want to share with you about. Did you have a good vacation?
I did. I'm so organized right now. I feel it
Yay!
makes my well-being feel really great.
Good time of the year,
Hmm.
right? So while you were out, I actually extended an invitation to our leadership hallway
Okay.
to join us in a book club. And I've
Hmm.
given all of them our first quarter books. So I would like
Nice.
to extend an invitation to our agent
I
body
love
if they would like
that.
to be a part of that book club. Well, the way
Yes.
it's going to work is we're reading a book a month. Now, we're not going to meet every single week to talk about the book. We're going to meet the beginning of the next month. So, the beginning of February,
Hmm.
we will meet and talk about January's book.
I like that because first of all, it puts a timestamp on when I need to have this book finished.
That's right. And it
Right.
also doesn't overwhelm me that I've got to come to four meetings in the month of January and talk about a book. We get to do it one time and get some great nuggets from each
Yeah, I
other.
love that. It's very light, but yet it's accountability and it's all growing together.
That's right. So let's tell them the first book.
So, yes, the first book is Michael Hyatt's Free to Focus.
And I think we're going to be talking about focusing today, right?
We are. And it was a very interesting read. I haven't read the whole book yet,
Right. Me
right?
either.
And we're a little we're pretty close
We
where we
are.
are in the book. And I've written. I know you've had some ahas around it. And let me just ask you, like for our team here, our the three of us, the leadership hallway, and what this extension of, if you want to go on this journey together, um, for you, what was the magic button for this to be book number one?
Well, our precious Jen
Mm-hmm.
Sartain has read this book on the hallway, and she works with Sally and I daily. And do you know sometimes how you can like squirrel? Not you, but us
Yeah.
as a person, not
Right.
just you. Yes, you
Yes.
and me.
Right.
So just how you can sometimes squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that happens in our lives, and she felt like this would be a great book to start with. And I started reading it and was not able to put it down the first time. What I love about the book is there's also some assessments
Mm-hmm.
that you can take online. So Michael Hyatt has designed a website to where you can actually do some assessments. And I've taken the first assessment, and I can't say I was 100% pleased, and I wasn't disappointed of where I am. And there's always room for growth.
Well, I think that's what I love about KW from being somewhere else before this company is that, if you don't know yourself and you aren't real with it, it's like get real, get right is
Yeah.
one of the things I wrote in my notes. Get real, get right with who you are and where you are and what's happening in your world so you can change that,
That's right.
right?
And when we truly have the time to be free,
Mm-hmm.
to focus, we end up focusing on the most important things
Right.
because we get all the distractions out of the
Mm-hmm.
way. And that's some of
Uh,
the things that I was wanting us to talk about
let's do
today.
it.
Okay, well, at the very beginning of the book, there's a quote that Oliver Berkman says, and he says, "What will your life have been in the end but the sum total of everything you spent it focusing on?"
Okay, wow.
That really got me thinking in just the
Mm-hmm.
first chapter and just out of the gate got me thinking because it got me thinking like what am I focusing on? Like there's an example that I can give. So you and I do a 411 every single week, right?
Right.
And there are times that it becomes a task
Mm-hmm.
and not an opportunity in my mindset. It becomes I've got to do this 411 again.
Right.
I've got to turn it into all the people I turn it into. And I just did a 411 and I'm so proud of it because I looked at the entire month of January and
Mm-hmm.
I had some ahas. I was like, wow, I've got this, and this going on.
Mm-hmm.
I better take a moment and plug in the things that are most important because I've got to make sure those get done because of the 80-20 principle rule, right?
Right.
I've got to be 20% activities. So it was a really good aha moment for me. Now, we all know the 411 is designed to change every single week. We know that if you put down the stuff you have to do in week number one
Mm-hmm.
and you don't complete it all, you carry it over into week number two. We know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I did a sketch draft of what the whole month would look like each week, knowing that at the end of each week, I will go in and tweak and carry over or subtract what I need to and what I already have planned for week number
Right.
two.
You have a
So,
big vision of what it should look like. And we know that that weekly, it's chunked down into activities,
yes,
right? For
to be able
sure.
to have execution
Mm-hmm.
around, for sure. But focusing on everything means focusing on nothing.
Mm.
So, an example of that would be multitasking. Now, I know that you and I are great multitaskers. So we think, right?
Right.
Let's brush off our dust off our shoulders because we
Mm-hmm.
think we are. And who is it that told us multitasking is a lie?
I believe that was Sir Gary,
Yes.
Gary Keller.
So there's some truth to that, though,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because when we are multitasking, we're not focused on, Jay Papasan says, the one
Right.
thing, right?
Well, there was a lot of KW concepts as I went through the book that I wrote notes in. It's like the one thing we think we're saving time. I love the journey that he went into with productivity and our thoughts around it and how society as a whole has been set up in a manufacturing era. And it even gives the example of Lucy from I Love Lucy and the chocolate
Yes.
assembly line, which is iconic as a movie clip. Oh, I did great. I shoved chocolate everywhere. I got it done. And the boss says, speed it up, right? And that was all a lie. And then they're trying to go faster because we think that if we go faster and we
Yes.
pile more things in our schedule that we're going to it takes our freedom away, right? I like the fact that freedom is part of the journey of focus and productivity, for
Well,
sure.
and the rest of that Lucy story is she was having to eat a bunch of chocolates to keep up with the conveyor belt, wasn't she?
They were shoving them in pockets. They were just trying to hit the quota. And I think a lot of times agents think productivity is busyness, like that assembly line, and that we're not doing the right things,
Well, and Sally,
right?
how often are we running so fast to get what we think needs to be done when we really examine it, we're really just standing still, and then we have to run double that speed to get
Yeah.
something done. Yeah.
Well, I like, in the process, and there's a system in this book that if you choose to pick it up and digest it, you'll see what they're talking about. That we feel like if we can just get up earlier or just stay up later or have some more technology, our lives will be so much better, and yet they're really not. We're burning ourselves out.
That's
We're
right.
n- we're not having the freedom to do things that really give us joy by making those choices. So I like the different way he looks at it in the book.
We
So
all have the same 168 hours
yeah,
in the week.
one thing he said that is in the one thing as well is that on average, I think most, now this is looking at employees and in a workforce, right? Not all independent contractors. And yet, I think it applies to everyone that we get interrupted every 3 minutes with
Yep.
something.
Think about that.
I mean, it
A
might not be a
distraction.
person, but it,
Right.
it might be a dinging notification or an email or all of the things that we feel like we have to get done. And also, are you feeling like if you're not always on that you're not working and you're letting people down? Do you get into that
Sure.
headspace?
Sure. I think
For
we all
sure.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was sitting at the lunch table yesterday and one of those distractions had come across a few minutes before I sat down at the lunch table, and I found myself spending time on my telephone when I finally had arranged to have 13 of my family members at the lunch table. And one of my children said, Dad, I think a great goal in 2025 would be to maybe pick up your telephone when you're going to be able to focus, be present with your
Oh,
telephone.
wow.
That kind of
Okay.
was like a,
Well, how did that make you feel?
right?
Right.
Yeah. And there is so much truth to it. It's like be present at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the new ways to look at approaching 2025 from Michael's eyes, there's three steps that I want to talk about.
Go ahead, please.
Step one is stop.
Mm-hmm.
So, unless we first know why we're working, you can't properly evaluate how you're working. This wrapped back around to Keller Williams' big why exercise for
Right.
me. To stop, evaluate, know why you're doing what you're doing. Step two was cut. So once you have that clear view of where you are and what you want, then it's time to cut. So, what are the things that we're going to cut? Here's what I wrote. This is when you discover that what you don't do is just as important to your productivity as what you do.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
good, right?
It is.
Productivity is not about getting more things done, it's about getting the right things done.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we need to cut in our lives? Like what the fat? Where is the fat? What
Mm-hmm.
how much fat do we have that we need to cut?
Right.
And the third step was act. So now we've done those two things and we've cut the non-essentials and we're acting. It's time to execute. I think back on Keller Williams' 80-20 principle here.
Right.
I mean, there were so many things in just the first chapter that it was a hand in hand. It was a hand
Mm-hmm.
glove fit for sure.
No, I think the 80-20. I think I wrote that somewhere in the book. Also, I liked on that section that you just mentioned, those three things. I wrote visualize and feel the outcome because it says, can you imagine it? Can you picture when you feel fully in control of where your time is going?
Mm,
When you get to decide how to spend your precious energy, and when you hit the pillow at night still energized from a productive, satisfying day. Like, how does that feel? Visualize it and feel it. I know for me, and we've talked about this before, when I get in the kind of I call it the yucky spirit, or I feel off, it's because I'm not hitting my goals,
mm. Yeah, the
right?
same way. We've
Yeah.
talked
And
about
so
it.
we,
Yeah.
we just feel like it sucks the energy out. And so, how can we get back into the focus part of that? Now, I know you've already picked your word for 2025.
Yes.
So, talk about that.
Okay. It's purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great company out there called Mixed Tiles,
Mm-hmm.
very reasonably priced. And I had a nice little framed picture with a landscape behind it, and it says purposeful with the year 2025. The reason I've chosen the word, well, let me go back to my last year phrase. I had a phrase last year, and last year's phrase was actually a repeat from the year before because I didn't execute the phrase very well. So the phrase was my best yes. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that when I'm saying yes to something, I'm also saying no to something else. And am I saying no to something that could be more important than what I've just said yes to?
Mm-hmm.
So for 2 years, I worked on being intentional around making everything I do my best yes. Did I get it? No, I can't say I totally got it. And because that was my phrase, I kept it in front of me. It was like I was able to look at it and see
Right.
it and be more purposeful on it. That's where purposeful came from. Is I just am striving to be more purposeful in my life in all areas, right? So one of the things that I was very purposeful on in 2024 was weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
That was a goal of mine, and for me to have done that journey and now I'm working on how do I maintain that and all those things. It makes a difference because I've learned that when I take care of myself, I can do a better job of taking care of others, my families, our agent body, the environment, right?
Right. And you
So
feel better.
that's
You
right.
have the energy.
That's right.
Goes back to that energy plan with Gary Keller. And you have to, I mean, when I think of someone who's focused and productive, he walks that talk,
Yes, he
is what I
does.
see in everything. And I feel like part of that is something that's in maybe his disc personality as well. He has some natural tendencies toward that, maybe more than others. Others may have to work harder at it. That's just my 50,000 foot
Right.
view of Gary Keller. At the same time, I think in an environment where we're talking about these things, we're talking about growth, not being stagnant, we understand we're not going to be 120% on every single day, that the environment understands around us that we're a productivity company,
That's right.
right?
That's right. Yeah.
As for you guys as the agents, we want to we want to empower you to think in a productivity mindset and focus. And I hear so many times when someone says, "Hey, what would you like to get out of a class?" A lot of times it's, "I want to be more consistent. I want to have results," and I bet that goes back to
That's
focus.
right. Well, I think you and I are focused on our calendars, right? And
We are,
it's interesting because this time of year, everybody makes all the New Year's
right?
resolutions, right? And you and I have decided to be more purposeful on our calendars and time blocking and living by the calendar. So it's funny. Sally and I had a conversation last night preparing for this morning, and one of the things she said was, "Hey, I saw such and such on your
Yeah.
calendar, and I guess I'm not a part of that." And I'm like, "Well, let me tell you what that is." And it's a pause and pivot moment in my calendar
It
today,
is.
right?
And I like that.
That's right,
Yeah.
because there is going to be a time where I'm going to need, I have a lot of meetings today, and I am going to need to pause for me.
Right.
And then I'm going to need to pivot into the next activity, into the next series of 3 hour meetings that's after that.
Right.
So, but I thought it was funny because you're being very purposeful about your calendar, and I was
Right.
looking at, because we overlay our calendars, we share calendars, and I was looking at all the things Sally, had on her schedule for today, and I think it's going to be a great thing. It's going to help us be more purposeful and be able to get the things done that we need done.
I do, and I love it. So I like I told you that I did some organization at my house on my vacations. All right, I'm talking about closet clean outs, all the
Yes.
things, right? Um, my husband said, "What are you going to do on your days off?" Because he didn't have those days off, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to clean out this closet and I'm going to organize." He goes, "Why don't you do something fun?" And I'm like, "Well, it's going to help my well-being when I do that." Like he didn't think it was fun,
Right.
but the feeling, it's like this. I feel the outcome of that, and it helps me to feel like I can focus. And so when I saw your calendar, I am now going to have to
Right.
disconnect all the calendar overlays so I can see mine
Sure.
because there's a lot going on. And you know me, one of my things, Jay was like, "Are you getting bored with the thing?" Because I want to change just for change, right? So this year, I've been reflecting on my word. Like it takes me a little bit, and because we did the word exercise several years ago of reflecting and thinking and then really just asking for some guidance from up above on what should that be. I've taken a minute. I feel like it's going to be evaluate.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is evaluate all the things. Evaluate how I'm spending my money and why. Why am I running away from doing what's on my calendar? I'm evaluating the choices that I'm making.
I love that. So let me ask
Yeah.
you a question, an action item here. So, how will we at the end of the year know that you have lived, evaluate out to the best of your ability?
So let's talk about one quarter at a time. How about we do that?
Okay, I love that, chunking it down.
Yeah,
So, how will
because
we know at the end of March?
you will see it reflected in the growth of the market center, my spiritual growth, my personal growth on completing the books in my personal life, and you'll see me stay true to the calendar to
I
the best of
love
my
it.
ability.
I love it. Well, and I'm glad you said the quarter because you and I had a meeting and we did talk about quarters.
Yeah,
So
that 12-week year kind of.
that's right. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah.
So I love that. Well, let's talk about a few more things. I want to talk about the way he defined, sorry, freedom in four
I
ways.
love it. Go ahead.
He talked about freedom to focus, right? There are four ways to define freedom. Freedom to focus, freedom to be present, freedom to be spontaneous, and freedom to do nothing. When I got to that part, I was like, do nothing. That makes me think of, okay, guys, we're old, right? You're probably not old who's watching this, right? My daughter says, I would like to just have a rot day. And I'm like, a rot day? What does that mean? She said, you just sit on the couch and rot. And I'm like, that would be the freedom to do nothing part,
Yeah, and not feel
right?
guilty about it.
That's right. And when we do all the things that we need to get done, there's no guilt feel.
That's true. That's that going back and feeling the outcome because we feel like we were purposeful
Yes.
and we did what we needed to do, and we spent our time wisely.
Yes.
I
So let
love
me go
that.
over a couple things. Freedom to focus. Think back over the last few weeks. How much time have you truly had to have freedom to focus? Okay, so always on the accessibility of the smartphone. We always have our smartphone, we have our computer in front of us. That consumes our time, right? So,
Right.
like I just gave the example of one of my children saying, "Dad, can you put your phone down and be feet present?"
Right.
So
Because you think you have to be on for every ding and every pop up.
that's right. That's right. The second one was freedom to be present. And that just simply is what we just talked about. Be
Right.
present, right? Be present in the moment of whatever moment that you're in. And because you and I are calendaring at a high level, I think it will give us the opportunity to be present in the time that we're in on the calendar. Do you agree with that?
I do agree.
Yeah. The next one was freedom to be spontaneous. Imagine being able to drop whatever you're doing. Okay, I think about my precious granddaughter who is 6 months old, who yesterday said her very first word.
Really?
It wasn't G pop. It wasn't G pop. It was mama.
Aw.
And Drew was able to get a video of it, and Julia Beth and Drew were with her when it happened. So that's awesome,
Oh,
right?
and especially that they got a video of it.
Right. But I think of the spontaneous part because
Right.
what will it look like if I have everything done in my world and all of a sudden Eliza walks in and she's like, G Pop, let's play, let's whatever. I can say, yes, I'm going to be
Yes.
spontaneous and play with you or take you wherever you want to go, girlfriend.
I
Right?
love that.
The last one was freedom to do nothing. Our brains are not designed to run nonstop. When we drop things into neutral, ideas start flowing. We have a
Creativity, yeah.
mindset to where we are more relaxed and we're able to gain additional things that we knowledge that we need to do, that we need to go.
I love that. I think it's through this whole book, I'm sure there will be so many more ahas as we go through all of those particular pieces you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I know each one of those will be chunked down for us to really absorb at a high level. So I guess, for our agents out there, I feel like this is a timely book. Certainly, I know I mentioned this to you. I like picking out what I'm going to do, and I have an intention around it, and then I'm in 50,000 events that say you should read this right now.
Right.
And then my personality is to go, okay, I'm going to buy all those, and then I have this stack of books that don't get read, right?
That's right.
So this is not any way of saying if you've already selected what's important for you, go with that and do that with purpose and focus on that. If you feel like this is a topic in your personal growth that would help you to elevate your productivity in 2025, it's not a long book. It's an easy read.
It is.
There's some tools on the website. I like that as well. And I was just curious because you didn't tell me what your first assessment was, and I've shared with you what productivity style or personality that they told me I had, and you didn't share yours
What
with
was
me.
yours?
Mine is the multitasking maven.
Okay.
And I didn't know. Like, listen, I didn't know what Maven was. Do you?
No, I don't.
I had
Tell
to
me.
look it up because I'm like, well, what does that mean? Maven is someone who is an expert at something, but we know that multitasking is a lie,
Right. That's right.
right?
Yeah. So, and I'm hoping that I'm speaking of the right assessment, right? Because there's several assessments. The assessment that I did told me that I had control.
Okay, you are productivity control.
Yeah, productivity control. And so it wasn't that I was like falling off the ship. And it also was telling me like I can put a lot more things in place to make my life more productive.
That's good.
Yeah.
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 See, I think that we know where we are, and it tells us what we need to do,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I love that.
So, Sally just shared that if you have all the stack of books that you've already picked, which good for you, you
Yes.
probably should, right? If you're a reader. And if you want to hop into our book club, the first book is Free to Focus by Michael Hyatt. And we will get a date out to you all on when we are going to review the book. We'll do the book review at the beginning of next month, and then we'll pick up our next book. I don't have the next book in front of me as far as the name, but we can give them the
We'll
three
see. We can
quarters.
send that out.
Yep.
You know, hey, drop a note, drop a comment for us in the comment section today on our Facebook Live if you would like more information. Again, this is the book, Free to Focus. You can hop on Amazon, wherever you like buying your books, and get that. I'm sure it is a nice listen, probably
Yeah.
on Audible. If you're like me, I could listen, but I mean,
Notes.
I'm making notes, right? If I really like a book, I want to have it.
Right, right.
Um,
Sally, one of the last things that I wrote, and this was really hard for me to grasp, but it says we should design our lives first and then tailor our work to meet our lifestyle objectives. And I have always had a little bit of a mindset I've got to work, 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 and how I work and how I'm performing, what results I get. Then I get to choose that whole lifestyle part, right? So I thought it was interesting to say that it said we should design our lives first and then tailor our work to meet our lifestyle.
I like that. And you know what? I think another plug for KW Mindset is because I didn't grow up with KW in my pocket. And so many of you guys starting out got your license really early in life, which is a blessing. And I think, you know, when you're younger, you don't think about any of these things, or I didn't.
Right.
And as you approach being older, you start looking at, do I have life in my years in my life, right? You never know. And what's really important, that why and why we're doing this and living on purpose and having some freedom in the end
That's
to
right.
enjoy what the small things in life that give you pleasure.
That's right. That's
right?
right. And be worry free while you're enjoying, right? Because
Yeah.
you've been productive.
I mean, no one's going to stand up and say, wow, Sally, rest in peace, Sally. She worked so many hours.
That's right.
You know, she was such a workhorse, like, yay. Right? That's not what you want to be your legacy. You want it to be the outcome and the freedom and the spending the time with people.
And enjoy the journey along the way.
Yeah, enjoying it.
Thank you for having me on this morning.
I appreciate you being on. It's fun to have you in the
Yes.
office and doing this. And I hope you guys enjoyed my first guest of 2025, Mr. J. Craig. And we look forward to seeing you on the hallway. Now, listen, we are being purposeful on our calendar.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So we want you to give us kudos when you see us doing our thing, right?
That's right. Yes,
Right?
yes. And hey, Sally, I do
Yeah.
want to let everybody know that they need to look for my second email that'll be coming out today on our Chart Master panel.
Okay.
So if you remember, we have offered Chart Master to you all, which is a statistical report that you can provide your sellers, your buyers with on the stats around
Yeah.
the area. It's a very, very powerful tool if you're not using it. Well, the city, KW Citywide, is coming together at the end of this month in January to do a Chartmaster panel, and it's going to be at the Brainerd Baptist BX. And I'll get more information, but be sure to jump on an RSVP for that because you won't
So-
want to miss it. Company-wide meeting.
So the panel, I'm just asking the
Yeah.
question. The panel is going to be people that are using chart masters at a high level in their business, or is there also going to be some education around the pieces of the pages
Yeah,
of the charts?
so we're meeting this next week to design what that all looks like.
it.
The facilitators will be coming from some of the leadership team in
Right.
both of our companies in this office and our sister company as well. Great question. But it's going to be a great company-wide meeting, though, for sure.
Very good.
So-
Well, I'm going to close out with asking for you guys to remember Ciandra. Ciandra, I saw a post from Ciandra today that she's in the hospital.
Yeah.
She's doing better today, but her blood pressure is very low. Please say a prayer for Ciandra. Send her some encouragement and some love. And that's the person that just popped on my mind. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, you know what? Why don't we close out and pray for Sandra right now?
Let's do it.
Father, I thank you for this day and for bringing us together and for the health that you give us. So, Father, I pray for Sandra right now, and I pray that you would reach down, extend your arms to her in your grace and your mercy. Father, you're faithful, and I pray that you would heal her body and that you would touch her and that you would give her peace during this time. We love Sandra, and let her feel our love right now. In your name I pray. Amen.
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 Have a fantastic
Y'all have a great
week,
day.
guys.